and that is our biggest challenge.
Just a quick comment from me. I mean, not much I disagree with there. I mean, I think the big issue is cost. The other one, which Nikki didn't touch on, really is the fact that the storage site has got to have the right geological characteristics. You've got to be able to store it in a depleted oil and gas reservoir or in a deep saline formation. The biggest commercially viable carbon capture and storage project really globally is actually going to be on Barrow Island, associated with the Gorgon project, which I mentioned. But it works there because you've got the geology, which works. You've got a deep saline formation below Barrow Island into which the CO2 will be re-injected. And you've also got, right on that location, I mean, the pipeline's 7 kilometres long, compared to if you think about a pipeline in Victoria to take it from, say, the Latrobe Valley, you'd be looking at transporting it somewhere offshore, perhaps. There's a whole range of technical issues associated with that with oil-producing fields which are continuing in production. We've actually got, I think, someone in the audience tonight who knows a lot more about this than I do. But those are some of the challenges that you need to overcome. So, I mean, I think it's a technology which is certainly a lot of serious effort and attention is going into it around the world. Technically it's feasible, but it's making each of those steps in the chain join up. That's the most difficult part of all.
I think, to me, what that says is that unless the industry, coal and gas industries, actually get behind this in a much more serious and substantial way beyond what you're talking about, Nikki, then the challenges in terms of the way in which CCS could be part of the equation are going to be a problem. And you wonder whether that could be the biggest challenge for both coal and gas as to how do you reconcile those. And I just see there's a conundrum, and I'm surprised almost that the industry itself isn't calling for a higher carbon price to help fund the very issues that you're
we need a carbon price of $100 to bring on CCS.
I'm sure renewables would love $100.
I think $23 is probably a big swallow for the coal industry at this point.
Okay, look, we could talk for a while, but rather than do that amongst the panel now, it's just gone. It's after 7:30. Why don't we throw it open to questions from the audience? If people could please state their name and affiliation, and if they could please try and concentrate on getting to the question. If you want to direct your question to a particular member of the panel, please do so. But as I said, please try and identify your question quickly and make your point. And there's 3 hands already down here, but we'll start with this gentleman here.
Alex Arbuthnot, and I'm a farmer, so I thought I'd get my question off my chest early because no doubt the audience had bigger issues. Michael, you gave an example about agriculture and you gave a case study on nitrogen use. Now, I know some of the investors are looking at gas to produce nitrogen fertiliser at a lower cost than conventionally. Now, some farmers will see that as an opportunity, others may see it as not. So I'm interested in your comment on that. And for the other 2 speakers, I actually come from the Latrobe Valley, or near Latrobe Valley, and I was very interested in that ANZ report last year that talked about Australia increasing its investment and doubling its income by 2030 by using synergies between mining, energy and food. And as a farmer, I was interested in the food part of it. The meeting I was at 2 nights ago, I was done over by my fellow farmers for even thinking something along that. So I'm interested as well as whether you do see there are synergies for agriculture.
Michael, do you want to?
Well, I'll talk briefly. I'm not a big specialist in agriculture and fertilisers. Put simply, most of the world's inorganic nitrogen fertiliser is made from natural gas. You turn that into syngas, hydrogen and carbon monoxide. You strip out the carbon monoxide to make hydrogen, and then you use what's called the Haber-Bosch process to take the hydrogen with atmospheric nitrogen. So you suck nitrogen out of the air and you make NH3, ammonia, and that's the feedstock that goes into the fertiliser. So if you could replace natural gas, which I think is about 5% of the world natural gas production goes to make fertiliser, with a renewable source of hydrogen, electrolysis from wind, then you would have a nominally zero emission inorganic fertiliser. Cost is, of course, the issue. But that could be a smart thing to do. So I can't really answer your question, but I'll end with one very basic estimate. Roughly half the world's population today is fed effectively by the productivity gain from inorganic fertiliser use. So every second one of you in the audience.
Do either of you want to...
You go ahead.
I'm not familiar with the ANZ report, so I can't comment specifically. I suppose that in terms of power generation, it exists at the moment, and it would be very good to see much more of that, where we're actually using biomass and other sources combined with whether it's gas or coal in terms of power generation. So you're actually using waste materials. For the mining industry, we can use a lot of things that farmers can't use. So we can use saline water in mining processes. We can treat water and actually discharge potable water back into water systems to recharge, etc. So there are a number of those things which have been happening, where we've also we have collaborated very closely with the agriculture sector. But as I say, I can't comment specifically on the ANZ report.
Just here.
Hello, Matthew Wright here I'm the Executive Director of Beyond Zero Emissions. I've got a few concerns with what Nikki had to say due to the potential that the audience was being misled. And so I want some proper stats from you, Nikki. You said 95% of CO2 capture from the Delta Power Station. Now people who are unsuspecting might think that means that 95% of the carbon dioxide was captured from the stack. When in fact, if we measure it in tonnes, we'll find that it was like 0.000. If you can just sort of give us an idea of how many zeros are in there, 1% it was captured, and it was a tiny little prototype demonstration. The same goes for the oxy-firing process. How much of that CO2 was captured relative to that power plant, and what energy is going to be used to get the oxygen? Like how much energy to actually get the oxygen? The Rotterdam project, well, fortunately a young person, I've got internet on my phone. It's a nice little theoretical that down the track they're going to capture carbon and they're going to inject it underground, but they're not doing that today, are they, Nikki? So there is no carbon capture and storage anywhere in the world. It's a great marketing campaign, and that's why you're a PR person and you're in charge of the institute or whatever it was. So can you tell us a bit more about it, from a maybe technical perspective, because I'm sure you guys have told you the technicals as well.
Well, thank you for the question. The post-combustion capture project at the Delta Power Station in Munmora is exactly what I said it was, which is a demonstration project. So it's a retrofit to an existing power station, and it used a technology which had a success rate of 95% of capture of the CO2. The problem is, of course, nowhere to put the CO2, and the volume of CO2 that is captured was actually very small because it is a demonstration project. You cannot build a full-scale commercial project before you have small-scale demonstrations to prove the technology. One of the things with post-combustion capture, for example, is that there are different reagents, different absorbents, different chemicals, effectively, or salts, that can be used, and the purpose of doing the trials is to see which is the most cost-effective, environmentally beneficial, least impactful on the power station, and has the highest rates of capture. So you trial these different things. So that is precisely what it was, and that's precisely what I said it was.
So you won't have a solution by the time renewables are cheaper than coal, because you don't even know which path you're pursuing. That's your admission.
Absolutely. We are not saying, it would be a great mistake for people to say that there is one power generation technology that is the answer to the world's prayers. There are many different options in any kind of scientific revolution, including in renewable technologies, requires several different types of experiments on that journey. Scientific knowledge is not linear. It's not linear for the renewable sector, it's not linear for the nuclear sector, it's certainly not linear for the fossil fuel sector. So you experiment with different technologies to see what achieves your goal in the most timely, cost-efficient and environmentally appropriate way. So I'm not making an excuse for science, and that's not PR, that's science.
Okay. We might come back to it. Just behind you there, I think.
Yeah, hi, my name's Neil Rankin. I've just come from a meeting, a council meeting at the South Gippsland Shire Council, where it had to be moved from the chambers into the next largest venue at Leongatha, and that place was absolutely packed with farmers and other community members that wanted the South Gippsland Shire to refuse permission for the use of their facilities and so on for coal seam gas, and that nothing at all should happen until it's absolutely proven to be safe. Now, a forum like this, I'm concerned because we've got people with vested interests in coal, gas, the universities that get their funding largely from to some extent from these organisations, and above that we've got government that depend desperately on the royalties and the licence fees and so on. Where's the community input to this? I don't believe people actually want dirty fuels. In the Latrobe Valley, there are more people dying prematurely from burning coal. In the Latrobe Valley, there are more people dying from the burning of coal than the Victorian road toll. Our farmers in South Gippsland are going to have their prime food production land disrupted by this industry, this coal seam gas, unconventional gas, tight gas, whatever.
So I understand, I think we understand the
So I just wonder whether any of the people here with their vested interests really do consider what people in this country actually want. Can any of you address that, please?
Yeah, I'm certainly happy to address that. With regard to coal seam gas, there's a lot of fears around about coal seam gas. Latrobe Valley sounds like that's the latest place where this is going on. But if you just look at the facts, let's talk about Queensland, for example, where the industry's been there for the longest. There's something like in Queensland, the Queensland industry is actually going very, very well. There's 3 major projects which are under development. The farmers have been quite heavily involved in all of the aspects associated with landowner access, compensation arrangements for use of people's land. And also, we've got something like 2,640 agreements between farmers and gas proponents, which have been negotiated successfully in Queensland. And no, I don't think that's true. And can I just say as well that one of the reasons why there's no doubt that when the industry first started off, it has actually gone through a very, very rapid growth curve, and lessons have been learned along the way. But one of the things which is important, I think, from many farmers' perspectives is it's a way of diversifying their income because of some of the compensation and some of the revenue that they receive from having coal seam gas developed on their land.
They've paid nothing compared to wind turbines, nothing.
Yeah, sorry. Mike, could you...
Mike Sanderford here. I'm the director of the Energy Institute, and I also happen to be a geologist. I guess we often take these arguments or discussions into areas of technology solutions, but we have touched here, and we are increasingly touching on the issue that Nikki briefly raised, which is about the social licence to operate. Everything about energy has a social licence issue. We can find issues here in Victoria about wind turbines and the social licence to hold wind. CCS in Holland is okay, go across the border, and there's no social licence to do it in Germany, even though they've just disbanded the social licence to operate nuclear, which we have legislated the social licence not to operate for 30 years. These are huge challenges. They're obviously huge challenges bringing together alliances which we formerly wouldn't have considered. The Greens and the social agrarians of the New South Wales agricultural realms, and coal seam gas is a big one. A strange bedfellows to say the least, and especially when Alan Jones is their master. Social licence is a real issue, and I'm interested from the perspective, particularly of the industry, whether they feel as though they have an understanding of how the dynamics of social licence